Well, shit. Welcome, everybody, to Unity in the Community. That's the UFO in the Paranormal. Holly's blocked. I can't even
I
believe
know,
it.
how rude.
I got to put the person off camera in that position. So sorry. So that way I can do that. You know, Mike is even a little bit out of frame now, though. So we'll go back to this
that
one.
a little bit.
Yeah. What's up? What's up, my comrades? These shows, I decided I'm not going to do an intro in the typical sense. For the same reason, I'm not gonna run it like usual, right? Like we're gonna be together the whole time. The whole fucking time. That leads me to want to introduce you guys, though. So, Holly, introduce yourself really quickly. This is the second one of these that we're doing, so we're still getting into the flow.
Which Holly am I today, though? That's the interesting one. So, I am Holly Wood. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you? And you're part of what community?
All communities.
The UFO community
Yeah,
and the otherworldly community, right?
So yeah, I'm an experiencer. I'm
Right.
a big advocate of HICE, which is human initiated contact. Bit of a CE5er, my own sort of version in comparison to Dr. Greer's.
Yeah.
I am part of the Project Nano team, which is something amazing to hit the globe very soon. And I'm an all-round UAP, UFO phenomenon nut. And I also have my own show, plug alert, The Weird Sisters, which
is great.
We just discuss the weird and wonderful aspects of the entire phenomenon. So it's not UFO, ET, alien based. It's around all aspects from, the Loch Ness monster to shadow people to
the Men in Black,
Men in Black,
shit. Yeah.
all just the weird shit that's out in the world that we don't have an explanation for. Big lover of the paranormal too. So yeah, Holly Wood, it is my name.
Footlooker got a good point here. He said he saw.
No, don't do it.
No, I'm gonna address
Don't do it.
I'm gonna address it. He said he saw Pop-Tart on Reddit, and he said he sort of feels bad that he's not on the podcast anymore. Dude has a big heart and is confused. Hope he gets his stuff straight. I agree that he's confused and he doesn't know where his loyalties lie. And he's very eccentric and he's quick to he makes snap judgments. And when we do that as a person, we let our emotion take control. And when we let our emotion take control, we let chaos in the take the wheel, right? So that's my problem with Lil Pop-Tart. Is that attitude? Because that hadn't been the first time that he quit. He had already quit before about something super stupid, like because I called Mark, who does the podcast with me on Sunday, my co-host. So he took offense to it and quit. And I was like, what? That's not what I meant. So
Ty, I'm going to interject here as a former publicist and your friend. Sometimes shit just doesn't work out.
Yeah,
sometimes it's
people
not meant
don't
to work out,
People don't. Yeah.
We just sometimes don't gel, and I'm a big believer in perfect timing, and sometimes it just doesn't work. You pivot, you maneuver differently, and you just crack on. We're here for a good time. We're not here for a long time. He's on his little kind of journey thing. He's discovering his own norms and conventions, and park him. Keep it cool. Park him, and he's got some interesting views, but haven't we all? You do.
He's smart too. He's super smart.
And the smart ones always will go off onto rabbit holes. What kind of puts fire into our engines? But I think, as your friend, and I've just nearly fell off my chair. I think you smile, appreciate,
and move on. Yeah, and move on. Keep it moving. And that brings me to, because you know what, all the interactions that he and I had led me to love, who is, love. Love is literally one of the most genuine people that I've ever met. So love, what's your deal, man? Who are you? What community are you from? What do you practice? What do you preach, brother?
Well, essentially, like I do CE5 and I work with most all fields essentially. Like the fact
Yeah.
is, I believe in a lot of stuff as well. So, essentially this all comes from my childhood, all the things and all the spiritual practices that have been, acquired throughout my family and through just things that I've learned throughout this life.
Right. And you practice traditional CE5 Dr. Greer's protocols for the most part, right?
Well, essentially, like I said, like since I've learned this by myself, this was just something that clicked. But Stephen Greer's, like that's what made me realize how to talk about it. Stephen Greer was just there for me for another piece of information that allowed me on how to speak about CE5 and contact itself.
Contact.
And that's what I wanted to talk about tonight because we have a lot of things to on the docket, if you will, with everything that is happening. Because now that I've taken some time to like go back and think about it, with Corey Good in that situation, it does pose a very interesting question. Now, someone like him who has not only been in some of the most major
Mhm.
documentary films
Mhm.
produced in ufology,
Mhm.
but he lent credence to many aspects of what was being spoken about. So contextually, his story fit into the place that needed to be fit into. So that not having that piece rips all of that down, and it
It's a shame.
exposes
Mhm.
something that is much larger in this community and in these communities, that walls are eventually going to come crashing down. We shouldn't run away though, because we need these walls to come down.
Mhm.
We need the grifters and the liars to be exposed.
It's just, again, I always revert back to everything happens for a reason. There's no such thing as coincidence. We're all traveling this highway, walking each other home, and there was maybe a reason why he's been exposed the way he is. There's a reason why we're in this situation. I don't know enough about him really to pass comment, and I'm seeing the feeds, I'm seeing the socials, I'm seeing people are very vocal. I think I've seen at least 2 or 3, shows today. I've seen various people jump on their own shows and talk about it. So, clearly there's a lot of content and a lot of debate and conversation around this dude, but, yeah,
Well,
interesting one.
it's the way that it happened, but we'll get into that after. Mike, last but not
Mike,
least
Mike,
for
Mike, Mike,
now,
Mike, Mike.
um, who are you? What do you preach? And who, what where do you hail?
Yeah, so let me start again rather than being like, yeah. Yeah, so
Let me start off by hitting puberty.
Start at age 5, Mike. Come on.
exactly,
Safe
yeah.
space, babe, safe space.
Yeah, so I'm more on the paranormal side of things. I know very little about the whole CE5 UFO side of things, but I'm more into the sort of ghosts, poltergeists, paranormal, that side of things. I've only been into it for just over a year, and before that I didn't believe in anything, so I'm still pretty skeptical because old habits die hard. But in my journey of discovering the paranormal, it turns out, without wanting to sound like a massive charlatan, I'm a medium of sorts as well, and have been able to successfully read for people and contact their loved ones and
And
find things out about them that I would have zero way of actually knowing whatsoever.
and that's what I
Yes, sir.
find most compelling about your journey is that once you got into it, once you exposed yourself to it, it almost like it unlocked some hidden ability that you had this whole time, potentially, right? We
It
can leave room
seems
for skeptics.
Yeah, it seems really grandiose and fucking lame for me to say it, but it's almost like it was a spiritual awakening
Right.
when I went on that first ghost hunt and things happened that made me sort of question things and go, well, hang on a minute, like maybe my arrogance is getting in the way of what's potentially out there. And then that was like the floodgates opening, and then all of a sudden I'm fucking Mary loves
Levitating and
dick,
shit.
Mary loves dick, and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, Mike!
Also, Billy
Sorry,
Robert, hello.
that's
And
that's a UK reference to
Derek
uh,
Cora,
Derek Okora, who was on a paranormal
Most
show,
Haunted.
Most Haunted, and he was from Liverpool, so I can't claim him, but he was, and he was kind of exposed for not always being correct. But
He was set up and given two fake names of potential spirits in a location, and then both of them came through later in that night, and the names were actually anagrams of things like Derek Lies and Derek
Yeah.
Faker. But there was some hilarious moments, like he's there channeling and being like, "Oh, I don't know. Oh, Mary loves Dick. I just keep getting Mary loves Dick."
Really
And
well
they're all trying to not lose their minds because
Yeah.
it's the absurdity of a man saying Mary loves Dick.
because that's a tuppence in English language. And
Yes, but yeah,
So-
like Madman.
So what I like about having us all together is that it brings a sensibility and a solidarity that the otherworldly is a phenomena that doesn't just encompass UFOs, doesn't just encompass witches or or like the magical aspects. People, when you tell them that you have an interest in this kind of stuff, they're quick to judge. Now,
Yeah.
is there a community that you're a part of that you think has the most kind of stigma attached?
in what sense?
Because Holly, you're specifically a part of a lot of different communities, right? Not just
I'm
UFO.
just a flirt with all of them. I was brought up very esoterically, and I have my hand in a lot of different pies, and I think some of those pies and groups haven't always been as not accepting, because that's the wrong word, but they haven't been as interactive with each other. So perhaps the kind of
Yes.
occulty stuff or the more esoteric Wiccan stuff I'm involved with, in some cases, to bring up my passion for ufology as an experiencer would, and this is just my experience, I don't speak for entire people, disclaimer,
Mhm.
but I sometimes felt a bit of like, why is this broad bringing UFOs up here? There was a separation, whereas now I believe that some of that separation and silos, or the walls are kind of tumbling down, and there's more interactivity. I seen a tweet this morning, or yesterday, that said ufology is like a gateway drug. The next minute you find yourself talking about Sasquatch and
Yeah.
astral projection.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah.
share it because that is so true, that I meet people who are getting into the whole consciousness thing, and then they'll come to me and be like, I've just discovered the gateway tapes with the Monroe Institute, and I met an entity, and I'm like, well, so
Welcome to the world, baby.
Yeah.
You've just, and that's I love that whole, because once I don't know what triggered it this last time. I think it was in my conversation with Kevin Day. Talking to him, I was talking to him almost on a daily basis for like 2 months about his encounter on the Nimitz, in the Nimitz battle group, and he was so genuine with his time, and he would get on the phone with me, he would get on Zoom with me, everything. But this is all while I was doing my movie podcast, and I finally I started, then I started watching the documentaries a little bit more, diving in a little bit more than I ever had before, and I fell head first, and haven't come back up for air since. And I love it. I love it.
It gets you. Once
Look
you're
at the
in, you're
look
in.
at the people I'm surrounded with now versus the people I was surrounded with 3 months ago. People who all just wanted a platform or a pedestal to get on and get themselves bigger. Now I'm surrounded by like-minded individuals who have a calling for the truth, and who have a sense of, that feeling when that song comes on the radio, and it's a beautiful sunny day, everything's perfect, and it's that one song that triggers whatever memory and that feeling that's inside you. That's how I felt for fucking 7 months straight now. It's like my eyes are finally open.
That is a lovely way
It's
to put that.
Yeah.
it's a weird one as well because like there are elements of I'm going to use the very broad term of the paranormal community, but there are elements of the paranormal community which are kind of shit. But it seems like you can kind of avoid that, and you can actually meet the sort of like-minded people, like we were saying on the last one when Holly was saying about coming down to where I live and taking me out to do some CE5, and that kind of scares the shit out of me because I'm a bit like,
Who you calling?
well, not even that. What if I do CE5 and the experience I have are very similar to the experience I have when I do my mediumship, right? And then that's just going to be me like, what the fuck do I believe now? Like, because I'm not even sold that mediumship is me contacting
Maybe you're just
the
fucking
spirit realm
nuts.
or whatever.
Maybe you're just fucking nuts.
Maybe.
Well,
I'll
I
just
think you
embrace
could
it.
potentially, I think you could potentially have super amazing contact if you actually went out with a mindset that allowed you to.
Yeah,
Because you are, you're already in tune to something. So you're
Frequency.
you're kind of halfway there already, right? You kind of got a little jump on the game. So I think I would use that to your advantage.
The only thing that worries me a little bit is when I first started learning about the whole mediumship side of things, it did start to blow my mind a little bit because it was like a fucking lot all at once. And I was like, whoa, hang on.
Yeah, have you ever, Love, when you started, because Love makes contact, with the orbs and I've asked him before, Love, is it ever overwhelming? Like, or do you ever feel like why me?
Well, it's more of the fact that like it sometimes feels like when they come and they arrive, it's not it's more it is kind of overwhelming in the point that it's like, okay, we know that you now exist because we know that we are now communicating with one another, knowing that they are there and we are here. But essentially it's like I feel like it's to the point where like now where can I take this to? Like what steps should I take in order for where to move on with the contact itself? Because for 4 years I've been doing this kind of stuff, and it's more of the fact that now it just grew upon me that it just became something so natural. It doesn't, to me, I don't really see this as a phenomenon, but more as something that just naturally has been happening for many of years.
Uh-huh.
At least that's how I look at it.
And there's no guidebook either, right?
Right. Yeah,
Like-
and that's the thing. Like I feel like everything, when you step into this type of journey, they start guiding you and what your path is, unless you let them. We all have free will on what to do within this incarnation, on what we are in right now.
And the other side of it as well is, even if there is a guidebook, like there's a lot of stuff. I obviously can't speak for CE5, but there's a lot of stuff on the mediumship side of things where they're like, oh, go and do this, go and do that, go and do XYZ. And I'm a bit like, rightly or wrongly, and maybe to my detriment, one of the things that keeps coming up is like, go to a spiritualist church and find a circle and things like that. And I'm like, I am super not religious. And I went to a spiritualist church once and I was like, what the fuck? Hymns, what the fuck? Like, I'm dealing with this. So like, the tried and tested route of people,
church, Mike.
the tried and tested method of like, go to a spiritual church, that's not for me. So
We're the
like,
church of the communities.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's like I'm
going
to have to find my own path.
Well, here's the thing. So I've been, I've been pondering this little question for a while now. If the paranormal side of things, right? There's some sort of force that many people would associate with a negative thing, right? A negative, ghostly encounters being negative, whereas UFO encounters being positive. This leads me to a question about good and bad, because a lot of the CE5 community think there's no such thing as a bad advanced civilization. Now, I think that's a very naive way to think, right?
Agree.
Now, it's a very naive way to think.
Agree.
Could Love, being who you are and who Holly is and who Mike is, what do you guys think? Are there malevolent and benevolent, advanced civilizations or did the benevolent, or no, did the malevolent not make it because they crumble in on themselves, such has been posed by people in the C5 community, saying that species that are like ours right now, they wouldn't possibly be able to advance to that point because we're so greedy, etc.
You know what? I'll take the first pass on this one, just because anyone can pull an article up about me, and I have changed my position. So, kill me in the comments. Let's go. So I I had I'm an experiencer from childhood. I'd never encountered anything in that respect that I felt threatened by, or yeah, don't kill me in the comments because I'll come for you. I haven't never felt scared or threatened or anything of a threat nature, and I was very public in saying that. But then, as the grand magic of the universe, I had an experience that changed that shook me to my fucking core and changed my perception. So I wasn't frightened to the point of wanting to jump out the window. I wasn't frightened that I was never ever going to have an experience again. I wasn't frightened not to pursue. But the experience I had more recently this year was one of foreboding, and one that made
No,
me really fucking question, what is this? What is going on? Like, who were these beings? What? Why me? What the heck? And it took me having a conversation with Whitley Strieber to understand that I hadn't had a psychiatric breakdown, that this thing had happened to me, and it was unnerving. So my position has changed. I
yeah,
think there's duality. I think there's no dark without light, there's no yin without yang, there's no hot without cold. So
right.
to me, it seems a logical conclusion that there's good and bad, but good and bad is not viewed through our human optics. I think that that's a really
It's
rudimentary
all
way.
entirely relative, right?
Yeah, yes. So I think we get, well, there's bad ones and there's good ones. It's that's in like
I'm
my human language.
I'm in the same boat as Foot here. I don't think you've shared this experience out loud, at least here. I don't know if it's something you'd be willing
Yeah,
to
I'm
share.
good. I'm good. I'm good.
Because it
I was
sounds like it would be it was one if it was one that shook someone like you, that's something of significance, right?
okay.
So
A long story short, and I think I've only spoke about this once before publicly, so be kind. I was in a deep meditative state alone in my house. I was sober. There was no inebriation of any substance of any kind. And I was in maybe 2-3 hours worth of real deep. I was going through a rough time. So, you know, um, went into a meditative state. And then kind of between dream and sleep and awake, and I'm a sleepwalker, so I'm quite aware of the different levels of like sleep I can be in.
right.
And I came to unable unable to move, but with an awareness that things were different. And I seen with my eyes strange shaped beings, couple of them around me and kind of over me. And I was frightened because I couldn't get away. And I was frightened because my kid was there
Mm,
in the house.
mm,
And I'm thinking, this is one fucked up dream. Wake up, Holly. Wake up, Holly. But I
right.
could feel the bed covers on underneath me. I could
So
feel things. Long story short, I I kind of fell into a sleep and this sense of foreboding. And I woke up in the morning like that was really fucked up. What the hell? And I had this phrase in my head, and I'm not going to share that phrase, but that phrase has become apparent to me
yeah,
later on. And And I believe whatever happened was for a purpose that I'm not going to get into here because I'm still trying to make sense of it. But it was only when I read Communion, years ago, and I knew what the story. But when I'm met with him at an event, and he was talking, one on one about those little blue squishy dudes that messed with him.
Yeah.
I broke down
Yeah.
because it was very similar description of these little dudes that were on me. And on me is the only phrase I can use.
Just a couple of notes on this. First of all, chat, big Holly up for sharing that because it's obviously traumatic. You can see that in the way she's way less bubbly than she is normal. Sleepwalker, when you were younger or to this day, have you experienced night terrors?
I've been sleepwalking since I could walk.
But
I don't have
night terrors specifically.
not particularly, no.
Okay, because that's
But I'm a
something that
big
is
sleepwalker though. I can leave my house. I can go out into the street. I've been a walker all my life.
I'm not sure about sleepwalking, but night terrors are apparently something that's prevalent across multiple people that are sensitive in one shape or form.
Yeah. Have you ever
myself included, apparently, when I was a kid? But
have you ever heard the stories of the paralysis?
Sleep paralysis.
The paralysis, like elf, not the elf. The it's like almost like a goblin. They describe it as, and it like holds your chest or it like it makes you feel like you can't move, and it holds you down.
Sits on your chest, sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. People, that's how they describe sleep paralysis. So we know for a fact that in altered states of consciousness, we can perceive things that this leads me directly into DMT because I went to another place. My body state, I am fucking 100% that as much as I can touch and feel this, I went to a place that I could feel, touch, and there was one other thing there with me, and it didn't work. It seemed like it didn't want me there, but it wasn't surprised that I was there and not hurried me, but guided me down this. And then and it looked like so basically what I was surrounded by was so picture the universe, right? Just the floor and the sea, like the floor, the ground, and the atmosphere around me, it was all one. Like it gelled together. It was a very glossy look. And it was like a road that I was going on. Not a road. That's the best way I can describe it. But and this being didn't speak a word. Looked very much like an elf from Lord of the Rings, but not in the elf way that people like the machine elf thing. It was just a very beautiful, symmetrical, blonde-haired being. And I saw this thing with my eyes, clear as day. And then I took a couple more steps, and I was back here again. And it was almost like you can't stay out of your body too long, or maybe something will take over, right? So maybe that's why, hey, bro, maybe that's why this thing is like, hey, get out of here. Don't be here too long. Or I want to go back and I want to fucking stay. Has anyone else had an experience on DMT?
I think not DMT, I think I mentioned this previously on the podcast. Somewhere like a year and a half ago, I was going through a really rough patch and had like a mini breakdown at one point at which I started to disassociate.
Oh, you said, yeah.
And that's very similar to what you were saying. Like I started to feel like my hands weren't my own and my body wasn't super familiar to me. And then to the point that like I was sort of like outside of my body looking down on myself. And I don't know, cool, disassociation, mental health issue, probably highly likely. But is that also a body's way of being like, here's a coping mechanism. Let's pull you back a bit.
Right. I mean, I even had an
heal,
episode.
reassess, and then be like, okay, you're okay.
Yeah,
to go
that's
back
very
in.
possible. And I think that
Do
the
you?
brain will and our conscious self and our subconscious self will go, enough. We need to
Yeah,
protect. We
and
need to
this
protect this vessel right now. Enough, and we'll shut you down to protect you. And we should talk about these things more because it's happening to every fucker. Someone
and
goes through this every day, so it's beautiful to talk about it, Mike, and I applaud
it
you and I
was
respect you.
honestly like this was way before I was into anything paranormal, so I was a bit like, A, what the fuck was that? And then B, did some googling. It's like, oh, it's disassociation. There's been another point, in fact, where one Saturday morning I woke up and I was in the bathroom. My fiance Patsy came in and she come and give me a big hug, and she felt so foreign to me. I was like,
Right.
do I know
like-
who this person is?
Right.
Like, who am I? Sort of thing. And like,
And I'm assuming she's your friend. You know, she's your fiance, right? That
yeah,
connection, that love that you have for her, or is she identifies as a woman?
yeah.
Okay, so that love you have for her is so strong. So for it to not be there says so much.
It was so weird. And then like after the time when I was on my sofa and couldn't felt like my hands were mine and stuff, next thing I know, I'm like, I'm back and I feel okay and I'm cognitive for everything, but I'm streaming with tears because I've essentially had a breakdown while it was just before my birthday, and I always get a bit fucking depressed around my birthday. But we'd ordered a curry. So I'm there eating this curry with fucking tears streaming down my face going, this is really good fucking curry. So I'm like, I'm able to have a conversation. I don't feel sad, but I'm like uncontrollably crying. And I was just like, the fuck just happened? Paranormal, who knows, mental health, potentially.
Yeah, and
But
then
it was a fucking weird experience.
I
You're muted, Harley.
Your brain is a supercomputer. We still don't even fucking know what
Absolutely.
most of it does. You look at the work of that Dr. Gary Nolan's doing and other very esteemed smarty pants out there. And we don't really fully understand the brain yet. Will we
Right.
ever? Is that part of our evolutionary path? Is part of understanding the brain and what it does in its entirety, spare us on to the next human 2.0, what have you. And I do think that mental health and mediumship and consciousness and astral projection and intuition and all of these things seem to be interlinked. As an experiencer who has the pleasure of knowing lots of other experiences, there seems to be sometimes some common threads between us. And what you've been through and what you're able to discuss, I don't think I feel that's part of your plan, and that's maybe your brain recalibrating differently to put you forward. And thank you so much for sharing.
Could this have been
I'm proud of you.
pull you back and be like, fucking reassess before we put you back in? In the chat, who is it? Nick Carr. Sometimes I feel like I'm just riding along like I'm not at the wheel. That was exactly how it felt. I was like, I might as well have been looking at my hands going, what the fuck are these, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't.
Sometimes I feel like I'm just riding along.
Exactly.
Like I'm not at the wheel.
That.
That's fucking scary.
I feel that.
Fortunately, haven't disassociated since, but it was short of terrifying, a fucking weird feeling. Going back to your original question, Ty, just quickly, I can't speak on obviously CE5 and malevolent, benevolent, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Through mediumship, I've only really contacted really nice spirits or whatever when I've been doing mediumship 101. I made the stupid mistake of trying to contact something that felt like it was tied to a location once, and it wasn't necessarily evil or dark or anything, but it was just a dickhead. Just like didn't want to play ball, didn't want to really communicate with us. He's just like, no, fuck off, leave me alone, sort of thing.
There's rumors that Aleister Crowley and
Here's my subject. Let's go.
Yes, please.
That Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard were using what would most probably be known as the Book of the Damned, right? Like if you were, or if like a commoner, I guess maybe was looking at it, something to the effect. I don't know that area, that subject matter, So to me, it's the Book of the Damned, right? Like that's all books that have fucking dark secrets in it, right? To me, that's the Book of the Damned. So the rumor is they were performing rituals that they didn't fully understand that what they were bringing into this world. And so there's rumors out there that some shit happened, and who knows? So Holly, what do you know about that? Because like
I have been a student of Crowley for many, many years, but this is not the environment for me to get into that. I would be happy to have some time to get into it, but I will say that Crowley was misunderstood. I think if he was in today's landscape, we would treat him differently and accept him differently. He was a pioneer in some respects. He was, yes, he was a mischievous twat. Yes, he played with things of gravity. Yes, he had a smashingly insane drug problem. Yes, he didn't treat these people sometimes the best. But there's always two sides, well, three sides to every story. There's Dan and Vinny I think they filmed a documentary at Bolskine in Scotland, and had the pleasure of, or displeasure of, going into the room where Crowley opened up a portal. So I'm not too sure when that comes out, but I'll obviously share that with you guys when it does.
Yeah.
But Crowley will always be a divisive character. I'm very fortunate that I've got to spend some time with members of the OTO here in the UK. And, the man did some interesting things. And I think, if we want to delve into Crowley and, his time with the Golden Dawn and his time with Sybil Leek.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that one day.
Let's do that in the new year, because he deserves that subject deserves the spotlight. But I will share one thing with you. When the UK was going against Hitler, and Hitler was a renowned occultist, of course,
Very.
and
He
was
led
deep in it.
missions to find occult items,
Cover the Ark of the Covenant and all of
biblical
that.
items, right?
Yeah,
thinking it would give him a head up, a lead up on the war.
Yeah. And the Sybil Leek, an acclaimed modern day witch, a Wiccan witch, one of my people that I've been into since child. In one of her diaries, she describes how her and Crowley were part of the war effort, that they were brought in by British Secret Service to put together an attack on the the defense for any occult attacks that the German Nazi party had curated to attack England with. And there was a magic with a
two
K.
sex Holly Ty looks like.
Can you guys talk for a second?
Yes, absolutely.
Talk.
Yeah, go.
So there was certainly conversation and interest around, they may have helped the effort, but they did something. And I think, Crowley, we could talk about him all day.
I don't know that much about him. Didn't I'm not going to butcher the name of the place. The place in Scotland burnt down, right? Or part of it burnt down.
There's been loads of crazy shit that's gone on up there. Loads of crazy shit.
He's definitely an interesting dude. The other thing, L. Ron Hubbard, obviously founder of the Church of Scientology. After I started getting into mediumship, and they were like, meditation, blah 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 blah. I think we watched the Louis Theroux documentary on Scientology. Fuck me, man. Some of the stuff that Scientology says lines up exactly with some of the stuff that the spiritualist movement and the mediumship stuff talks about, and I'm like, oh man, for fuck's sake, like I don't want to be put in with these people.
I love theology, and I love, what a month if I've not been kicked out of a cult. I got binned off from that ridiculous cult. Sorry, fraudulent slip. A couple of weeks ago, that really was a slip. Just for those in the chat and those listening and watching, I was ceremoniously booted out of a cult I didn't really want to be in, a contact cult. But anyhow, a couple of years ago, I went to the Scientology. We're going to get people outside our houses now, aren't we? I went
Probably.
to the Scientology Centre in Manchester on my lunch break, and I'm classic recruitment material because I'll buy any old shit because I like to understand the nuances of
Esoteric,
theology.
is it
Yeah, yeah.
right? Yeah.
And I went in, and I was like, I'm having, because I'd seen some of the documentaries, like, I'm having loads of problems at home and my life's a mess and I need help. And they didn't want to play with me.
Really?
Yeah, they were
Um,
like, and I think because I was so enthusiastic about like, where you go? Where you go? How can you
yeah,
help?
yeah, yeah.
They were like,
Actually, no.
yeah, like we. And I remember watching that Louis Theroux or something, and the way like if they get your email address or their phone number, they hound you. Those fuckers didn't they have my phone number? No one rang. They had my email address. No one rang me. Like what? I am prime cult material.
No one's ever tried to recruit you?
Oh yeah, I got kicked out of that cult 2 weeks ago.
Okay, wait, whoa. Because, we were hearing rumblings that there was a legitimate cult growing in the UFO community and that there was some article that was coming out to expose it. And I haven't heard anything follow up related to it. So is that what you're talking about?
Was it going to be like a Heaven's Gate sort of thing?
I don't know if we could. I don't know if we could talk about it, but I'm
Okay,
I
just
can
saying.
talk about my no. I can. They're scared.
Just-
I'm talking.
Just
And
quickly
I
before we
can.
do, I think Love,
I'll pay. Literally, if anyone ever comes near you, I will pay for private protection for Holly. So
Like I can.
yeah,
So
I know.
I'm not going to name them because it's not worth me naming them. But anyone who knows me would know who they are. There's lots of consciousness based organizations that use consciousness and enlightenment to gain contact with them or the others. And this particular brand, we're a splinter brand from an already well established group, and I found them to be very interesting at first, but people I respected and liked had gone through their program. I joined, didn't feel great about it, but there was elements that were really positive. Certainly with my breaking my leg and stuff, they were helpful in my healing journey. And then I started to notice things that were quite off. And unfortunately, during one call, someone who was part of their organization told a father not to feed their autistic child for
Oh my
12
God.
hours.
you said about
Cash
this.
me the fuck outside,
Yeah.
not playing.
Yep.
So I became probably a little bit difficult at that point and a bit off. And I was warned that my behavior wasn't correct. I was warned to keep my mouth shut. I was warned some things. But ultimately there was good people in that organization. I think there was a couple of rotten apples that disrupted the cart, but I don't agree with anyone in any contact organization you telling a father not to feed their child for a
No.
length of time. So that's where I draw a line. But I've actually made contact with the real organization, not this splinter organization, and my studies have been able to continue with the more legit side of them.
Okay.
They cancelled anyone associated to me as well. They were kicked out. Anyone that was friendly with me, anyone that had any association to me, they were ceremoniously kicked out. So that's the first time I've talked about this publicly, by the way.
That's proof itself, right? When there's like a thinning of the herd,
Yes.
like that, and
It was a contact cult, 100%. And
yeah.
what was quite challenging is they were trying to control communication. So,
I heard they were flipping podcasters.
This is, I think the organization you're talking about has are a different
Oh, okay.
set, and that set has legal representation. I'm not going to get into that conversation because I don't fancy getting sued.
What the fuck is
Just
going on?
just go back. I think Love had a question of some sort.
Love.
And he's been very quiet, so let's get him in.
And now I talk too much.
All right, so essentially my question was is that it's like you talk about like the people that you met that who are mediums, and you see I have people in my family who are mediums who practice like Yoruba, Santeria, things like in that kind of nature. So I wanted to know, like, did these people ask you for money? Did they ask you for any kind of donations? Or because I don't really trust mediums who try to ask for money or none of that, if they are genuine about where they're coming from.
That's a very good, good thing.
So with the mediums I've met, none of them have actually directly asked for money from me, or any of like for any sort of training or anything. Obviously, there are people out there who offer courses and like what they call not resorts, not recluses either. I can't think of the word. But you'll basically pay money.
Grifters.
Yeah, you'll pay money and you'll stay with them for a weekend and do like a course over the case of weekend.
Yeah.
I
Like a
have paid
resort.
resort sort of thing. Yeah. I have paid for a reading once, and I'm pretty sure the medium was full of shit. Because a lot of the stuff she said was not relevant to me. In fact, one of the things she said was, "Oh, why am I getting lorries associated with you?" And I was like,
What's a
"Oh,
lorry? What?
semi truck.
Oh, okay.
Why am I
like
getting
the lorry.
a
The
semi?
the
18
Come
wheeler."
on.
the
It's
language
Arctic.
the language barrier definitely just kicked in.
Sorry, dude.
With on postman
By
and
the way,
not
by
bin
the way,
man.
you guys can call into the show. It's new. I'm trying it out via Google Voice with that phone number, and we'll bring you in if you have anything to say. But just so to go back to that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
So
so
she's getting
she-
Lori.
I'm getting she wasn't American, sorry. She's getting a semi truck to do with me. And I was like, no, I used to be in the motor trade, which is cars, but that's far removed from lorries. And she sort of looked for a bit and then went, yeah, same thing really though, I suppose, isn't it? I'm like,
No,
I don't think so. But anyway, she was full of shit, in my opinion. And that's the only one I've paid for. I've met other people, and kind of like yourself, Love, like any medium I meet, I'm always like, yeah, sure, you fucking are. Because they're,
Because
and that's so hypocritical of me. But the problem is there's so many charlatans in this field because it's largely unprovable. So they just sort of go, oh yeah, I'm getting your granddad who's in a military uniform. He's got a scar on his left arm where he was injured during the war and all that
That's what
sort
we're
of stuff.
talking about, the cold readings, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
That's-
Love, Karen.
Oh no, you're good. And that's the thing, that they try to like point out things that are trying to be relevant to you when it's actually not. I feel like somebody who really taps into who you are as a being, mentally, physically, spiritually. I feel like when you put all those things together, because you see, like my mom, she actually goes to this person in Cuba, and she's her name is Petra. And Petra, she uses hydrokinesis, which is a type of form of she
Water.
meditates with the water, and she tells them like things that already happened, and she's very accurate of a lot of things that happened with me and my family. So and she's like 93 years old, like at that stage. So like but a lot of what she has and said to us, it became very relevant to us, and it helped us through a lot of things. And you see, like my sister, she actually makes I'm not sure if you ever heard of chi energy, like Rekai and things like that, but
Chinese thing, right? Like Reiki's energy healing, isn't it?
yeah, essentially. So my sister,
chi.
what she does, she practices Yoruba, which is also a African tradition, that came from Africa. And she well, what she does is basically puts all her energy inside these amulets, and then it's like a protection. And
Oh, that's cool.
like in my dad, he actually owns one of them. And one day he was at a casino, and then he took this wallet by mistake. He was just trying to return it, and then the police knocked at the door, and then that's when the amulet broke off, like almost like that was the protection, and nothing happened. Like, just returned the wallet, everything was fine. And Tyler, I want to go back to that one question of what you said about the beings of,
Evil and good,
yeah,
good
yeah,
and
like
evil.
I had my own personal experiences with good
Well,
and bad.
I
So
was gonna say you're more traditional in the sense of CE5, right? And you do. I mean, I hate to associate you with Greer because that's not your game, but you know, I didn't know that you've had negative encounters though.
well, this is with spirits. Like this is different.
Oh, okay.
Like, okay, so essentially, my negative encounter is that okay? You see, like my cousin, he once brought back a amulet from Cuba that was digged in my grandfather's grave, and the thing
So
was,
it was buried in the grave and it
yeah,
was removed.
yeah, from my
Oh,
grandfather.
you're
Yes,
fucking begging for bad consequences.
yeah. So
Bad
essentially,
juju, that is.
yeah, like it was very bad. Like, okay, so and then he put it like at every place he put it in my room. So, like that's when amulet inside of my room, that's when a lot of crazy stuff started happening. I was only 10 years old at the time. And you see, like I started screaming, I started yelling, I couldn't sleep in my room. I had to go to my parents' room just to sleep with them, and then it was messing all like basically everything. Like, but then one day my dad decided like let's just throw away the amulet because it was just messing us with too much. But after that, after my dad threw it away, everything just stopped. Like,
I wonder where that fucking thing ended up.
yeah,
Laughter, laughter, laughter.
Someone out there, someone out
Terrored.
there's living in a fucking nightmare right now because of it.
yeah, man, that shit like.
So, but that's fucking weird, dude. So, there's definitely energy when Marlena and I are together. There's an energy, right? Her and I create this sort of energy together, and we'll go into rooms or we'll go out to eat, or we'll go bowling, or we'll go shoot a fucking creepy video on Dudley Road. And it's like you can feel the energy of places, people,
Legit.
places, and things. Do you think that that is intuition from within,
Yeah.
or is it something outside that we are picking up on?
Can I answer?
But do you see the difference I'm making? So it's something. Are we the antenna, or are we producing said feeling?
I feel like it's both.
Yeah, I'd say it's potentially both, right?
Yeah.
I can.
Well, Holly, that was not a straight answer. I don't know what that
Mm.
was. So what do you think? Do we produce now? Do we creep ourselves out, or do places have bad energy, bad juju?
I believe that
Or vice versa,
the
obviously.
fabric of everything contains knowledge of everything that's ever happened, ever was, and ever will be. So, therefore, that when you go into a creepy spot, you're picking up on the creepy energy that was left there as a result of what happened in that space. I think that we're transducers as humans. I think we might have said this on the last show. I believe that there's part of us that we haven't yet figured out that connects to an informational highway of all knowledge that ever was and will ever will be as part of our divine connection to everything that is and everything will ever be. And I think that our intuition is our telepathy, our understanding. It's just that we've had our special beautiful powers taken away from us somehow. I don't know if
Somewhere
that's through
along the
genetic
line.
manipulation. I don't know if that's through what we're being fed and what's in the air, or the fact
The-
that we're all addicted to these. I believe that all of that is all we can all package up into this, you know, our extraness. And I make no sense, but I know exactly what the fuck I
No,
mean.
I know
So
exactly what you mean.
I also think, to add to what Holly said, certain areas can be more susceptible
Yeah.
to sort of capturing energy.
Legit. Portal.
Personal experiences. A while back, we went to a place in the UK called the Ancient Ram, which is known as the most haunted building in the UK
Love that.
by a lot of
And
people.
you said it was overwhelmed. I mean, it wasn't even that good, right?
It was all right. The problem Yeah, it was okay. It was just a public hunt, so we were made to do a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily agree with in terms of investigations. But the two interesting things that happened: there's a barn tacked onto the back of it, and the barn's meant to have some sort of dark energy about it. And you get this a lot when you go investigating, because people like to sell the fear aspect
Right.
to sell
because
tickets.
The sell tickets, right.
But the minute I walked into this barn, I was like, I don't fucking like it in here. There's something in here that I'm picking up on that I just don't like. I don't know what it
Right.
is. And then upstairs as well, there's a room. Ugh. There's a room called the Witch's Room, which is allegedly a witch hid out there while she was being persecuted, and then they
Poor bitch.
killed her in the courtyard of the ancient ram.
Burn the lot of them.
And as we
That's
walked
my
in the
next series.
as we walked in the witch's room, I started feeling really, really sick, like I was going to throw up.
Oh,
Now, I
wow.
very rarely feel like this, but I was like, I sort of leant into Patsy, my partner, and was like, I think I'm going to throw up. I might have to run for the toilet yet. Then later on in the evening, when I'm talking to the guide, and I said it to him, I was like, this is what happened in the witch's room. He was like, was it around this sort of area? And touched both sides of my stomach, and I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, the feeling of being crushed is what that would have been, because allegedly she was crushed there and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, how the fuck? You know?
That's
It was-
so that it's I did a lot of haunted and like
Yeah,
went to places that were haunted right around me. And I definitely noticed that different places gave me different different vibes, right? And the fact that like there's a place near me that most people know, right? For the witch trial, Salem, Massachusetts, right? When you get to Salem, which is a 20-minute ride from where I am right now, when you enter that town and you walk through it, there is something sinister in the air, and you don't quite know what it is. So I, after my Dudley Road video, which will be coming out this week, it took a little longer to edit than I thought it was going to. But I'm gonna dive into the Salem witch trials because it ties directly into why Dudley Road is haunted. The nuns were hanged for witchcraft at the time that the Salem witch trials were happening, miles away, right? So it all kind of lends itself together. But that whole thing. Do you think we're in a situation, like that? That right now where there's mass hysteria, or not mass hysteria yet, but this UFO topic is not going anywhere as of yet, right?
Nope.
And it seems like it's only growing, and it's only becoming more frequently talked about in a more serious manner by more serious people. So do you think that we could end up facing a situation of mass hysteria and something, kind of like the witch trials, where basically
Are people going to lose their shit and start turning on each other
over an alien species that doesn't actually exist, as of yet it hasn't showed up, but we're gonna label all UFOs as hostile and start going on the offense?
I think it feels like it's building to that a little bit when you look at like what's happened in the past 2 years in terms of the pandemic and how much division is being created by like the media and things like that. But I would like to think that, generally speaking, the general public's smart enough not to get to the point where they're actually killing each other in the streets because one person believes in UFOs and the other person doesn't, for want of a better
Well, I'm saying,
explanation.
this would all be post-disclosure, right? See, this would be a different world that we would be living in. So UFOs would be an absolute, right? Even though us four know absolute, maybe not you, Mike, but at least three of us absolutely know that UFOs exist, right?
Absolutely.
And it's only going to be a matter of time until
Yeah.
the rest of the world figures it out on their own or
Yeah.
is forced to do that. So this this scenario would be post that mass truth.
But going back to like Footlick has just said in the comment, if you can bring that up, like the thing is, it goes. I get what you're saying about like categorical evidence that UFOs exists. The problem is, again, as I've said before, belief for people is paramount. So you could find categorical evidence that, for instance, Jesus wasn't real and the Bible is all bollocks, and there would still be people who believe it
Them
because
Christians are gonna come for you.
they would. Well, you
They're
still
already on their way.
Go outside, Mike.
So
They- you'd
Mexico, Footlicker.
You'd still find people who believe it though,
Yeah.
because their belief is higher than anything you could ever tell them,
Yeah,
right? So it's the
great,
same with
isn't it?
UFOs.
right,
Sorry,
exactly.
love, what were you saying?
Okay, so I really want to like break down this whole UFO thing when it comes to, you know, like because look, I understand like your skepticism when it comes to this kind of stuff, but you see now somebody like me, right? I started off my journey. I believed in UFOs and stuff when I was a child already. So, and I've always felt this deep connection towards them all my life. And you know, what proved to me was the point when the thought that came into my mind saying summoning UFOs, you know, like why not? And then when I started researching it, it just came out to be true. And then I just started, you know, doing the practices, meditation, CE5. And then until I had my first experience of when it happened, I was blown away. You know, it made me cry. It made me realize that, you know, there's much more than what we have been told. And like look, I imagine the space, right, as like imagine like a zoo, like somewhere like we don't know what's out there, but maybe there is something out there waiting to contact us if it is sentient enough to realize that we are here the same way that we are aware that we are here the same way. You know, I don't believe there's no difference between us and them. If they, you know, if they are sentient and they can come here and communicate with us. But the thing that I've experienced, you know, I don't believe that they have actual physical form. At least I have never seen a physical craft, nor I've never seen a physical form of an extraterrestrial. I've only seen them come as orbs, light beams, and that's really about it. It's just the UFO, the word itself is that it's so misplaced. It's so out there that it's so hard to, oh, I identify as this and you identify as that. It is, you know, it takes away what we're really looking after or for.
This may come as a bit of a shock, but when I said I was skeptical, I was actually talking more about the paranormal side of things. Like, as much as I don't really know about them, I 100% believe that UFOs are real and aliens are real, because space is so vast, there is no chance in hell that those two things
But do
aren't
you
real.
believe that they're visiting Earth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the skepticism on my skepticism is of the paranormal, because unfortunately a lot of the evidence is anecdotal, which you can't prove because that's just stories. And a lot of what people believe is evidence in the paranormal is something like a house settling or water flowing through pipes, or people are so like misguided. And it goes back to like people want to believe so much that things that are perfectly normal then become paranormal. That's where my skepticism comes from. And I think again that's because I've not been born into this side of things, or I'm not a born believer sort of thing. I've like for years I've not believed it, then I've had an experience that's made me go, well, hang on a minute, but I'm still a bit like, I'm not going to believe everything that people show me. Let's say that's the paranormal side of things. UFOs, yeah,
right. Well, okay, now yeah, that makes sense. But you know,
that's how it should be.
You see, like me, I personally dive also into the paranormal. I've always been into electronic voice phenomenon, EVP, and things at that sorts, you know, and I've tried them myself. You see, look, like with my own, I've done EVP myself, and I would hear like literally, you know, I have people who, you know, I'm Cuban. I talk to people in my relative that I've heard, you know, that literally comes in and says "te amo," which means I love you in Spanish of EVP. Me, I personally believe in spirits. I believe that when we die here, you know, we become spirits ourselves, and wherever we end up is okay. You know, like energy cannot be created. Like I always say this: energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only changed and moved on. And I believe that we are energy, and that you know, like with the matter.
You have to say it's matter. It's
Yeah,
not
matter.
energy.
Yeah, I say yeah,
I,
matter.
I think some of the issue is the term energy in the paranormal side of things is sort of like a non thing, right? Because people just use the term energy for almost everything.
Which
So
makes sense.
I get where Love's coming from on this. Like, yeah, matter can't be destroyed, but like when people talk about like mediums and shit, will go, oh, stepping to my energy, or I can feel your energy, and it's like, well, what is energy in that sense, right?
Okay,
Right.
well, you see, like me personally, like the same way that we're talking right now, that is energy. We are giving each other, we are communicating back and forth, and we are feeling each other on a certain type of level. Now, I don't know how people explain it through the mediums, but I explain it just through vibrational, frequency, everything that you take in is what you put out there. So it's it's the same way as, like, okay, like for me, I believe when, the same way with death, I believe that when we die here, this will be considered one of our past lives, if you believe in that sort of thing. I believe that we've always already lived throughout the cycle, and we're just going to keep continuing, because that's just what life is. It's a cycle, it moves on.
Is forgive my ignorance, does some of that come from your Cuban heritage?
Yeah,
Is
like
there like yeah,
that,
Karen?
this is something that has been, been we already been new since, we are indigenous, ourselves. We come from a tradition that
Someone
already stems through the roots of who we are, and without, because I wouldn't know any of this knowledge if I didn't understand like all of this stuff, because as a kid I didn't really believe in psychicism. I didn't know what that really meant, until I started having my own experiences, because I feel people's frequencies, I feel people's energy, and sometimes they can be overwhelming. When I feel like, for instance, when I talk to my dad, I can instantly feel his stress. Like, imagine feeling somebody else's stress just by looking at them,
Yeah.
knowing that, like this and that. I believe, look, because a lot of people have the misconception that these are just superpowers. No, I believe that these are natural abilities that you can enhance yourself in a state when you are heightened, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like I think in certain cultures, like psychic ability and the paranormal is a lot more accepted and talked about, right?
Mhm.
Whereas well, in the south of England, you're a fucking nutter if you believe in any of this sort of stuff, which is where I am. So
Yeah,
um
I understand.
someone just tried to call in. Unfortunately, I did have to turn the call in feature off, obviously. That sucks, because we do have to wrap up. I have a network meeting after this in a couple minutes. So I hate to cut you guys short. But
man.
I do want to say this. The call-in thing is cool because you can also leave a voicemail or like a voice clip. And in our next week's episode, we could play it and address it. And so in any 24 hours a day, you could call that number and leave a voicemail, leave a voice clip, and I'll vet it first.
I'm gonna
Obviously,
prank you.
yeah, if it's a prank, if it's funny enough, we'll listen to it. But if it's like, vulgar
It's
and twisted, it's all vetted. But while we're live for the second half, I'll allow call-ins. This will be something that we do it, now going on in the future. Holly's gonna help us bring in some bigger guests, maybe sometime soon. Maybe Dan or Andy from the other shows and stuff. So, and I know Kurt. All those people already said yes. By the way, I didn't just throw that on Holly, but she's definitely one of the people who helped bridge that gap between trust, because in this community that we have, trust is a big thing, and if the people that we don't trust, we tend to stay away from in this community, because things like Corey Good happen, right? We find out someone's been lying this whole time. And
Yep.
for some reason, the UFO people are the best fucking liars on the the face of the earth. They can look you dead in the eye,
Dead straight in the eye.
start crying, and they're just, it's like pure acting. Those are the people that we need to weed out. So we're, there's this is
But Thai is a beautiful community as well.
it's so
We
pretty,
have
it's so
some
beautiful.
phenomenal, bright, intelligent, awesome people. There's there's a few cunts out there.
Yeah, there's a few coots, as I like to
What?
say.
What?
That's my UK thing. I like to say coots. You
Cunts.
fucking coots.
Cunts.
We
No.
literally
Jeff Koons.
we just got demonetized for just that fucking 12 seconds.
I was
Yay!
saying,
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not
Well,
wildly
we probably
thinking.
actually did, but that's whatever. Anyway, yes. So much going on. Holly, I know you have some big shit happening very soon. So lead it off. Where can they find you? What's happening and when?
Well, I'm now under non-disclosure agreement, so I actually cannot talk about one of my projects due to some very
Well, we get it. Yeah. You don't have to-
significant things that have happened. So unfortunately, I can't disclose things at the moment. But I would
Well,
recommend
where can they
anyone
find you on Twitter?
find me on Twitter, that UAP girl. Give me a follow. My DMs are always open. I'm always willing to chat and converse. Certainly, if you're an experiencer and you want to have a chat, my DMs are open. Please don't send me any naked pictures or things like that, because I've been getting some dodgy ones lately. But yeah, follow me, that UAP girl. Let's chat. But also follow Project Nanu. Can't tell you
Project Nan,
why.
I
but you should.
cannot wait. I cannot wait to have Project Nanu as a sponsor for the beginning of the show because I'm just gonna talk it up, and I'm gonna do that.
You
I'm
don't
doing
know
that.
what's coming. Also,
I'm doing that one pro bono.
Also, we've got UFO Twitter week coming up.
That's what I was leading you into,
yeah,
but you missed the fucking cue.
I'm ill. We've got UFO Twitter week coming up. December 26th to the 31st. A whole plethora of people, topics, Twitter spaces, interviews, the great, the good, the bright, the brilliant. We're all coming together for just a week of just awesome UFO stuff. So yeah, I'll be sharing details on my feed, and along with many of my fellow other mates in the crew dam. So yeah, that UAP girl, follow me. Don't send me dick pics, and live long and prosper.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be joining in on the fun with UFO week. I thought I missed it. Thank God I didn't. I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I was so mad.
I know. That was like a mad rage tweet.
I was so mad.
As if I wouldn't tell you.
I know. Love, where can they find you, brother?
They can find me on Love This Perspective on Instagram and YouTube channel Exterior Knowledge.
All right. And Michael, last but not least, certainly, where can they find you?
Never Michael. Only my mum calls me that when I'm getting told.
All right, Mike.
Paramike YouTube. I go out and investigate, and then I put it all on YouTube for you lovely people. It's genuine investigations, not, oh my God, did you hear that? Bullshit. Or me faking anything. Twitter, Paramike87, Instagram, Paramike87, TikTok, Para_Mike. So Paramike on YouTube. Paramike podcast is starting next year, which is going to be me talking about personal experiences in more depth and giving you a bit more information about where Paramike comes from.
Maybe
everything about it.
Maybe we'll show up on there too.
Maybe.
And maybe Mike will show up. I think Mike and I will be working together on a lot of things in the future.
Let's hope so.
Which are going to be fun. So fun.
Hang on, what about me?
Holly, obviously.
This is strictly paranormal, Holly, not UFO. Come on.
Yeah. You pigeonholed me. Well,
no, Holly's. Yeah, you're a given, right? It's a natural thing. No, but thank you for all the support for the show. 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're up to like an average of 8,000 downloads per episode on audio platforms. So the YouTube is coming back a little bit now that we're getting known as a UFO based or otherworldly based show program. So this is good, all good shit. We haven't found our regular viewership, but we also haven't found a regular schedule, which that is what I'm working on now, is a solid schedule that can be followed and the viewer doesn't have to guess when we're going to be on, right? That's consistency is key, and persistency is in my opinion, one of the best qualities that a human being can possess.
And
With
just
that
quickly,
being
while you're
said,
there, while you're subscribing to Total Disclosure, go and subscribe to Paramite because I'm 25 off of 200. And I'd really like to hit it by the end of the year if you could.
yeah. So why not? Why haven't you already gotten over there and subscribed? Get him to 200 right now. All right, guys, make sure to like, share, subscribe. Join if you want to become a member of the show, gain access to certain things that others can't, and ad-free content. Hit that join button, baby. And for everybody, ring that notification bell because that shit's free. And don't wait till I'm already famous to share my shit. Do it now because you're going to get in on the ground floor. All right?
Yes.
Fuck yeah. I love you. UFO week starting next week. Let's get wild.